evidence. But this is the last, the audio tape evidence, and this will go on for several weeks. This is a conversation with John Porzio in the year 1992. And it's the second time. I talked to him several times on the phone and met him once. And this is the second time, and he's asking me, I didn't want to sign a lease because they're medieval. And so he's showing me that the lease is okay, and he asked me to come over to his place at 2 Old Mamaroneck Road in White Plains, and go over the lease with him.
Is that on the left or the right? Yes,
it's at the fork. Old Mamaroneck Road and Mamaroneck Road.
There's no language like English. You ask if it's on the left, the answer is right. Yeah. And also about English. We park in a driveway and we drive on a parkway. You can't beat English. Okay, John, I want to thank you very much. Not at least, as you say, eliminate that, but we still have the problem we don't always prove or not.
I'm going to try to determine that now, not the 20th, okay? So,
he's going to try to have the other tenant terminated now and not the 20th.
He's got to give me 30-day notice. He's responsible, okay, for the lease.
And he's justifying his action in doing that. I'm not too sure about it.
No, but you sure got enough problems, let me tell you.
I feel sorry for her.
Yeah, bye. That's 12:28 p.m. on Friday the 13th, 1992. Here's another conversation where John Porzio called Glendora. Franklin answered the phone, and John asked for Glendora, and Franklin says, yes, I'll get her. And we talked again at great length, probably again about the lease. But anyway, another conversation later on where Glendora was calling up and talking to the other landlords that she met and she liked their places. Glendora does mention to them, thank you for showing her the apartments. She did make up her mind to take the one at Greenridge and Rutherford. And there were 4 of them that were very, 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 very nice. But this one won out because of its convenience. Its location is superlative. You know, it's 5 blocks within the gallery and downtown and everything else. It's just wonderful. And also Glendora formed a great liking for Mr. Porzio and thought that he was a very good landlord. The next conversation, as I say, that conversation is around here somewhere, but it just won't turn up right now. The next tape is on December the 4th, 1992.
That's Franklin talking. Apologize for not getting in touch with you. I apologize for not being available. It's about a truck. It's just small talk. So Porzio had trouble with the truck and he's running all about. Very cordial. See, this is a dub of a dub. I have the original tapes. The court has the first dub. And so it really is inaudible. Putting in tile, putting in sidewalks.
I saw a ball yesterday. A man was down there. It's a beautiful ball. He said $27,000.
$37,000 for the new boiler. which we ended up paying for. All the tenants had to pay for the new boiler. That's a terrible thing the state of New York did to us. Major capital improvement. We have to pay the landlords for the money they put in a new boiler. It was put in a couple of months ago. What can I do for you? Leaks in the toilet. In the shower. This is Franklin. What storage space is ours? He tells where it is. It's in the corner on the other side. It's actually on the west side. This is Franklin talking to Porzio. Where is our, which storage space is ours? John Porzio talking to Franklin Buell. December 1992. The judge has the original dub, which is much more audible than this one. The living room window air conditioner. There's an air conditioner in there. Will you take it out? Yes.
I would go to the window. Yeah, but if you don't want us to worry. No. Is it complicated getting one of those out? Is it complicated?
He thought that we wanted it. And he'll do it for us. He'll take it out.
Yeah, that was nice. You do me a lot of favors. All right, you do me a lot of favors, and I appreciate that.
You do me a lot of favors, and I appreciate that, Glendora says. And when we opened that window to take the air conditioner out, Katie went out through the window and was gone for 3 days. Katie, you did that, but you came back.
What did you say was wrong with the light fixture? In the bathroom?
This is about Alexis.
And you know something, John? You can't shut the bathroom door.
We can't shut the bathroom door. Yeah, okay, I'll fix that. Come over and see us. We had given him a list of the things that had to be repaired, and he was very good about taking down the list and asking Caesar to take care of them. I'll be here until 1 today. Yeah, we love it. We love the apartment. It's a nice apartment. It's not as nice as the one we have now, but it was nice. He thought the bread that we baked for him and his mother was delicious, and he's thanking us for it. And this morning he finished it up. It's terrific. Terrific bread. Thank you again. Thank you.
There was something else that said, oh, you know the little dimmers which in the hall
The dimmers. The dimmers in the hall. They're missing the buttons. Just a knob that's sticking out, and they're missing the buttons. But Franklin found those in a hardware store.
You know I'm going on CBS Television Network, don't you?
Glendora's going on CBS Television Network
Christmas, Monday through Friday,
on Family Feud.
10:30, Family Feud, 10
CBS Television Network, clear across the country, telling jokes.
So you guys are still okay?
So he'll see that, and he will call the plumber and try to get the plumber again. So you can see everything is cordial. And in the beginning, he really was a terrific landlord, good landlord.
You know, that apartment has a pink banner tile, you know, cut in foot square. Put that over the banner tile.
And you know where the toilet trunk is screwed into the floor. It's supposed to have little porcelain knobs over to cover up the spikes that are sticking up. That apartment is yours forever. Understand? Forever. That apartment is yours forever. Understand? Forever. It surely is a nice place. Oh, the sun. The sun is there all day long. It comes up in the east, those windows, the east windows. Then it's all there all morning and into the afternoon on the south windows. And then the rest of the afternoon it was on the west windows. There was no exposure on the north, and that's okay because there's no sun on the north. Franklin is telling John Porzio about a car. It was something good, it wasn't something bad. It was an accident. An accident at Greenridge and Rutherford. I think while we were there, we saw 4 accidents there. More detail about the accident. Glendora is recommending John Iodice for auto body work. John Iodice is a great New York Giants fan. In fact, he painted his auto body shop in the New York Giants colors. the insurance company is going to pay $24 a day for the rental. Glendora asked John Porzio to pay the electric bill, and she would pay him and keep it in his name. But we never heard from Con Ed, and so Glendora wanted to pay John Porzio $100 for the Con Ed so far, so it wouldn't pile up. As you can see, it was a great relationship when it began. And this is all testimony that the jury should have heard. And of course, Joanne Freer and Rosanna Washington didn't want the jury to hear this because they would have ruled in our favor. Because Joanne Freer and Rosanna Washington had already made up their minds to rule against us. First Amendment retaliation.
Apparently the batteries ran out. I don't know how the conversation ended. The date of it again was the 4th of December, 1992. Franklin Glendora and John Porzio.
December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day.
Top 5 billionaire. Top 5 billionaire.
It was a joke. A list of the top billionaires, and his name wasn't on it. List of billionaires. Warren Buffett, Walmart, oil in some of Saudi Arabia, and your name isn't there. About the plumbers again. Thank you for calling them. Hi, Katie. What, Katie? What, Katie? The stove was so dirty, and the kitchen was so dirty. And Glendora had to work so hard to clean it up, and she was so disgusted with the woman for leaving it that dirty. And the bathroom was dirty. Sorry about that, he says. And yet 5 years later, he takes half of our security deposit because the stove was dirty, he claimed. Well, again, it's something that we asked him to do, and he was very nice about getting it done. And he was very pleasant, and we were pleasant. He'll have Caesar do it. Caesar was wonderful. Later, Caesar lied under oath. I was very disappointed in that. For years, I was a great fan of Caesar, the handyman. But then he double-crossed us in the end. Oh yes, when you first mentioned Caesar to me, I forgot to ask you if it was Julius or Augustus Octavius. But this Caesar is from Peru, a very bad country. And many Peruvians moved into this apartment complex. Obviously the place is shaping up and how much he would like to have him come in. And he said he will. But I guess the point of all this is that it was very cordial, he was very cooperative, he was very accommodating, and it was a great relationship. Something about the windows. I guess it was about washing the windows. Was it all right with him if we washed the windows? If there's a problem, let me know. And I'll get somebody over there. And I have Katie's furs on my nose.
Itchy, good kitty. Itchy, good kitty.
It's about his mother. It's not good. And here's her prayer that she recover. Now that's a real problem. What happens in the apartment is not a problem. What happens to your mother is a real problem. All right, Glendora. Down on the inside, that's no problem. But is it all right to do them on the outside? We can do them. I said no, he didn't have to do that, that we would do it. A joke of the day. If I ever have to have a heart transplant, I want the heart of my boss. It's never been used. Yesterday at church. Call me if I can do anything for you. And he laughed at the incident I told him about at church. So the point is, cordiality, accommodation, pleasantness, and that's the end of side one. That's the first 60 minutes. And now this starts side two of tape A, the first one, 1992. John Porzio and Glendora. Con Ed. I eventually ordered the electric service in our name. You sure there's no prior bill on there? There wasn't any prior bill. And Glendora called about and said that it was an awful lot, $50 for a little 4-room apartment for electricity. What it was a big old refrigerator. When did I ever complain about you? No. I didn't mean that. No, I never complained about John Porzio for the first 4 years. The bathroom is good job on that. The wall looks good, the wallpaper is good, it doesn't have to be changed. We put a handle on the, Caesar put a handle on the bathtub soap dish, that was broken. Caesar did a lot of good things fixing up that bathroom. Yeah, the cellar window. And a man from church came down and hooked up the antenna. There was an antenna coming out of the wall, a master antenna. Sid says that his form of business had nothing to do with football, but it ended up in the hands of a receiver. And work is really important, folks. Where else are people going to rest up from their vacations? The toy business, this is a typical Wall Street Journal report. The toy business is returning to simple toys. Rubber balls are bouncing back. Kite production is soaring high. And even boomerangs are making a comeback. The executive was interviewing Annette, and he said to her, "Your application here says that your birthday is on May 17th. What year?" And she said, "Every year." Kenneth H. Mildworm, you lied to your country. You lied to the United States of America. Is that a good thing to pass on to your progeny? Folks, I want you to join my Sue Judges Club. Sue judges when they violate your civil rights. Under Title 42, United States Code, Section 1983. They have violated your rights under color of state. And they are not immune. The more judges you sue, the better. The Eastern District of New York. Have you ever seen the building? Well, a new building's going up. But just draw a picture of the Eastern District of New York courthouse building. Okay, just draw a picture. And this is the top. Okay, now, when you've drawn your picture, cut your picture off at the top and put the top like this, a hinge. You've opened the top, you look down in it, and what have you found? Swarming corruption. You've exposed them. You've taken the top off the Eastern District of New York and you've looked inside. Swarming corruption. We have lots of things to read you on TV and the Bruiser Ken things. 72 hours this week. Bruiser Ken blew open. There's all kinds of things to read you. I cannot read all of them to you in a half an hour. There are many audio tapes to play you. Let's see. The garbage truck is here, as you can hear, Tuesday morning. Let's start off with Franklin Buell from the Nutsy U.S. Attorney's Office, Eastern District, got a satisfaction of judgment. This is the case that you know well and that you heard all about. where a typical Assistant U.S. Attorney, Kiyo A. Matsumoto, sent out a restraining order on Franklin because he didn't pay his fine. Franklin paid his fine, $2,000, and his reward for that is this dumb U.S. attorney sends out a restraining notice saying to restrain the money in his bank account. Fortunately, it never got to the bank, and it never happened. But it's just the idea that the assistant U.S. attorneys just cannot do enough that is wrong. They cannot do enough that is crooked. Even after they falsely arrest you and let Bruiser Ken go, the guy who was the real criminal, who beat us up, and who's told is 2250 now, 2,250 lies. No, another paper came in yesterday and put it way up to 2,290 lies. That your taxpayer money is being paid these people to lie. Even when they falsely arrest you, even when they maliciously persecute you for something that you never did, even when they do a frame-up and a fraud, and when they sell their souls and lie and steal and cheat, that's not enough. Even when, because of this, they impose 2 years of probation, they impose a $2,000 fine and another $25, or is it $50? No, it was $25 rip-off fine, special assessment call. Even when they've done all that, that's not enough. You go out and you pay your fine, which Bruiser Ken should be paying and should be locked up for. You go out and you pay somebody else's fine, the parasite Bruiser Ken, who's also a parasite on New York Police City Commission as a cop, a retirement. You go out and you pay your fine. That's not enough. They've got to issue a restraining order against you. That's the fraud, taxpayer fraud, that is going on in the Eastern District of New York, your district. The United States Department of Injustice, the Federal Bureau, the Fraudulent Bureau of Investigation, the United States Marshal Service, the Pinkertons, about legal aid. Among the many crimes that this bunch of gangsters committed was to separate man and wife. Franklin was taken away from his wife. And what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Franklin on his own needed his wife's counsel, and Glendora on her own needed her husband's counsel. Franklin let them talk him into having a legal aid. He never should have done that. He should have defended himself. He would have done a much better job. At the moment, I've written a long complaint about the legal aid as I see it. The brief to appeal the crooked work of Joan M. Azraq has gone to Judge Gershon, and Franklin was not consulted in the brief. The person who wrote the brief, named Cassidy, Colleen Cassidy, never even met Franklin, eyeball to eyeball, never heard what he had to say. Went ahead and wrote the brief and submitted it. We had requested that the brief be submitted to us 7 days before so we could check it for errors, and there are plenty of errors. And so I sort of protested this to Mr. Greenberg, who is the head of the Legal Aid Society for Manhattan, Brooklyn, City of New York. And I have not sent it in. And I have told you about it. I believe in being pro se. You have a constitutional right to be pro se. There are only two good lawyers in the world that I know of, Sachs and Grafman. And they never, of course, could talk me into it, and they never could coerce me, not the judge, not the FBI, not the U.S. Marshals, not the Department of Justice. They never could coerce me into having a lawyer. I'm a member of Americans for Legal Reform. I would not have a lawyer. And so I went pro se. I let them have a legal advisor. Do you know what they get paid an hour, these legal aid? How much you get paid an hour? What's the minimum wage? $6? Guess what these crooked lawyers get paid an hour? By the government. Under the Criminal Justice Act. Guess what they get paid? $70, $80 an hour. And they always lose. The U.S. attorneys are so crooked and so bullying and so Gestapo that they have intimidated the Legal Aid Society and the criminal justice attorneys. They've intimidated. And they beat them down to this because you want to know why? Because all of the judges are former U.S. attorneys, assistant U.S. attorneys. This is what's wrong with your courts today. 90 out of 100 judges were former assistant U.S. attorneys. And you cannot find a more demoralized group of people in the United States today than assistant U.S. attorneys. They are the pit. Oh, and I also want to complain about the Gestapo censorship of Nina Gershon. That you can't write to her chambers or offices. What do they call them? Chambers for? You can't write to her offices, and you can't write to, and you can't call on the phone. Okay? Censorship. United States. Great American spirit, isn't it? United States District Judges, Eastern District of New York. This is volume 33 of Bruiser Ken, and most of this happened this week. I was looking forward to playing you the old footage from February, March, and April of 1997, but we can't. We've got to stop and sit down and go to work on this. The biggest thing this week was a 104-page complaint. A new lawsuit against Denise Coate and Sonia Sotomayor, who are United States District Judges in the Southern District of New York, for transferring our 3 lawsuits from the Southern District of New York to the Eastern District of New York. Outrightly breaking the law, which is Title 28 U.S. Code 1404. Transfer. A transfer can be for convenience, but it has to be in the interest of justice. You tell me any justice that Franklin and Glendora has ever seen from the vile Eastern District of New York. And yet Sotomayor and Coate transferred these cases into the jaws, into the trap, into the pit of the Eastern District of New York. And so that's a 105-page complaint. And it's a very sharp memorandum of law. And the complaint is based on the discussion in Moores by Georgine Vero on transfer. And Coate and Sotomayor broke every part of this and it's lost to go, lost to go because they did not realize but they did not stand up to the fact or stand up to the fact that Coate and Sotomayor had broken the law, and they should have kept the transfer vacated, and the case should have stayed in the pretty long law, pretty long discussion, and that you should have stayed in the Southern District of New York. We had a right to a neutral forum. You show me, again, any justice that we have ever received in the Eastern District of New York to the USA. attorneys. See, on every page it's 3 or 2 who were assistant U.S. attorneys and 1 who wasn't. Okay, we're getting, this is the log that's kept on Bruiser Ken. Okay, there it is. United States District Court, District of Columbia, Glendora Plaintiff versus Denise L. Coate. Sonia Sotomayor, Marilyn D. Go, Aline R. Ross, Joan M. Azrak, Todd J. Manister, and Michael J. Goldberger. Now, Azrak was sued for making Glendora pay a court fine out of her Social Security. That's against the law. You break the law, you're going to get sued. So she sued for that. Manister and Goldberger are sued for breaking Title 22 New York Code Rules and Regulations, Section 1200.36. No lawyer shall present or participate in presenting a criminal action to gain an advantage in a civil action. This was sent out Thursday, I guess, and this is how long the complaint is, 104 pages. With the informa pauperis request. And while I'm here, I'll give you the damages that Bruiser Ken and his colluders and his participes criminis, Old Glendora, $2,875.98 print, post, and travel. 2,036 hours times $250 an hour is $509,000 Bruiser Ken and his accomplices, Old Glendora, for legal labor. This file is 1,502 pages, 33 volumes, 3.5 file drawers. There's been 147 mailings, 48 chapters on TV. This is number 49. Half an hour each. February the 18th, 1997 to August the 11th, today, 1998, is 1 year, 5 months, and 18 days of Bruiser Ken tradership to the United States of America. The number of lives is 2,280, almost 90, I think. This is the dialogue, a one-act play that I wrote between the devil and an assistant U.S. attorney that was read to you last week. And then here's what happened. A whole rash of orders came in from Aileen R. Ross. And I must have spent 40 hours answering those orders. So let me get on to reading you some of those. You should really hear them all, but in a half an hour that's not possible. But let me insert one thing. On August 7th, 1998, on Pinkerton John, another screwball Pinkerton like Bruiser Ken and like Joseph Derby, Pinkerton John, who tossed my $150 tape recorder into the air, and it landed on the desk, and then it fell 5 more inches. On that case, I sued Pinkerton Security Services and the CEO, McCloskey, and the President, Brown, and the Pinkertons at the White Plains Courthouse, Frank Weber and Frank Esposito, and Pinkerton John, of course. But I also sued the Deputy U.S. Marshal at the White Plains Courthouse, named Larry Nevins, because he's so dumb he doesn't know enough to give people receipts when he takes their property. And he's so dumb to have such bad people working for him. So, police state that we have, that case came into the hands. It was in the Supreme Court, State of New York, County of Westchester. And Nastasi, so-called Justice of the Supreme Court there, had mangled that and fraudulently filed up the informer paupers that the county attorney had said was okay. And so, in the midst of all that, another crooked assistant U.S. attorney comes aboard named Rachel Godso, and she removes the case from the Supreme Court of the State of New York to the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, where Nevins works. Is that more of the same? Is that more buddyism? Is that more conspiracy? Is that more collusion? That's how these people ruin our government. They are the anti-government. So she removed it. They don't even have to make a motion for removal. They just a notice of removal. The case is going to the United States District Court. That's how Gestapo these people are of your country. And so I oppose that, naturally, the removal. And it was on several grounds, all kinds of grounds. Defect, notice of removal, it was just a joke. And so guess who got that case? Sweet. The crooked judge in the United States District Court, who did such a poor job, under, of course, the aegis of Thomas Griesa, on Glendora versus Rosanna, who robbed Glendora and Franklin of their 14th Amendment right, equal protection of the law, in the city court of the city of White Plains. So that's what you just can't believe how crooked these people are. And how Machiavellian. And how medieval. Okay, so then I amended that complaint and said that I also told that the Pinkertons are in default and that Robert Sweet should recuse because I sued this judge in the United States District Court, District of Columbia, and he's now an appellee in my case in the United States Court of Appeals, District of Columbia. So naturally we should recuse. And so I told everybody how dumb Godsell was to remove this case under the Federal Tort Claims Act because it is not a tort. It's a civil rights case. So I pointed out all the dumb things she had done. And then I added to it, folks, this law, it's hard to keep track of this. And it's really so, the crookedness is so evil and so entrenched that it's hard to even tell you about it in a coherent way. But we'll struggle on here. I added to this civil rights for women. There's a civil rights law, and it's codified as United States Code Civil Rights Remedies for Gender-Motivated Violence Act. Well, this is what Bruiser Ken did. This happens to apply to Pinkerton John, but it also applies to Bruiser Ken. Pursuant to the affirmative power of Congress to enact this subtitle under Section 5 of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, as well as under Section 8 of Article 1 of the Constitution. It is the purpose of this subtitle to protect the civil rights of victims of gender-motivated violence and to promote public safety, health, and activities affecting interstate commerce by establishing a federal civil rights cause of action for victims of crimes of violence motivated by gender. Its short title is Civil Rights for Women. That women have a right not to be attacked violently, as Glendora was in the case of Bruiser Ken. So Glendora has added that equal justice for women in the Courts Act. Glendora has added that to the case against Pinkerton John, tossing the tape recorder into the air. And she's added it also to Bruiser Ken as a charge against Bruiser Ken. Okay, moving on. That was an insert only. We are at Ross's first order. And this is in the case Glendora versus Bruiser Kent. And Ross ordered that, see, the no meritorious defense, Todd Manister in Jericho, said that the Pinkertons had not been served, and that Ross, therefore, did not have jurisdiction over them. I have to watch Penny because she's around the wires hooked up to the camera, and monitor, and light, and microphone, and a remote control, and monitor. But Ross said that wasn't so. That McCloskey, the CEO of this horrible company, Pinkerton, and the president, Brown, were to be served. They were served by certified mail, and there is a green card receipt for it. And they did not do their duty to the United States again. They should have accepted that service and not made the United States pay $70 a head or $80 a head to have them served personally. And so Ross has ordered the marshals, when you're pro se and in forma pauperis. No. You don't have to be in forma pauperis. All you have to be is pro se. The marshals do your service for you. That's a very good law that Congress gave us. And so far the judges haven't been able to corrupt it for their own selfish purposes. So Ross has ordered that the marshals in the Eastern District go out and serve Brown and McCloskey personally. And I have moved that Brown and McCloskey pay for the service because they were cheats and they were traitors to the USA not to accept the service that the marshals gave them the first time, which was by certified mail. The next Ross order, I'm not even going to get up to reading you the brief that the Legal Aid Society wrote to have the judgment against Franklin vacated. I'm not even going to get up to that to you because we only have like 6 minutes left, and we're just up to Ross's second order out of 7. These all came through on July 31st. She must be on vacation. Big time out for Penny. She wanted to go to her litter pan. That was what was on her mind. So in the second order by Ross, she consolidated the two cases, Glendora versus Bruiser Ken and Buell versus Mildworm. She shouldn't have done that. And I'm opposed to that. And that raises a question. See, Franklin's case against Mildworm is, and all of the other colluders, conspirators, and crooks, is a civil RICO case. And now, I don't know if consolidating Franklin's case with my case also gives me my claims against Bruiser Ken and the other accomplices. I don't know where that covers me for civil RICO. But I have found a book in the law library this thick on civil RICO. That's racketeering and crime influenced. You know, it applies to the mafia and things like that. But this is civil because these people acted like mafia. All of these people acted like mafia. So I don't know whether consolidating the two cases protects me against my claims for civil RICO, or do I have to file a new case? I guess I have to file a new case. That's what it's come down to, and I'm prepared to do that. And also, and then the worst part of the second order of Ross is that she let Dirty Kwiatkowski, the FBI agent, and Dirty Ramos, the assistant U.S. attorney, she let them go. They betrayed their country. They broke the Fourth Amendment. She just let them go. And she's wrong. And she can give no law for it. No law at all. All she does is cite the bad... judges and lawyers this week. This week, the corrupt judge of the week is Charles L. Bryant, but he is going to be the corrupt judge of the month, maybe of the quarter. There is so much bad that he has done that you, the public, must know. First, a bulletin here about the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. We sent them a copy of 2 lawsuits that we filed against them in the United States District Court, District of Columbia. And some smart aleck clerk interfered with the mail, and we're going to have to call a postal inspector and then put on the package, return. That was on one of them. That was on the case against Hofstadter and the 3 anonymous judges. They don't give their names. They write orders. They don't give their names, and they don't sign their names. There's something a whole lot wrong with Ralph K. Winter and the United States Court of Appeals. And so I suspect that that was Robert Rodriguez. He is vindictive enough and dumb enough to do something like that. Then a second one that went down, Glendora versus Magnus, the butchery that they did on that of American rights. It's not funny, you know. It's very, very sad. Crooked lawyers and corrupt judges are ruining our country. They are ruining America. You don't have a court to go to, folks. So anyway, I was telling you about that one, Glendora versus Magnus, that they mangled, and that's called Glendora versus Cabranes. And notice that these are 2 Connecticut judges. And so how was that one sent back to us? It had a one of those red ink stamps and a list of the things that it's sent back for, and guess what this one was marked? And it was addressed to the Clerk of the Court, United States Court of Appeals, Second Circuit, and it was addressed to the clerk, and it was crossed out, attempted unknown. What's your conclusion? The clerk of the Court of the United States Court of Appeals is unknown. Well, it's not surprising me at all, because Lange has an unlisted number. Campbell has an unlisted number. You've heard about the Beverly Hills Police. They have unlisted numbers. Well, this is how bad the Second Circuit is. The clerk has an unlisted number. What other bulletins? You call up Bryant's chambers and you get all kinds of dodges and evasions. They're really covering up something. And I am going to take a policy. They asked me questions. Thomas Tormey asked me if I had an index number yet on my suit against Charles Bryant, Thomas Tormey, and Robert Callaghan in the United States District Court, District of Columbia. I give him answers. No, I do not have an index number. Did you file it? Yes, I filed it. Now, so I'm going to take a policy that I don't tell you clerks anything in the Bryant chambers until you tell me whether Charles L. Bryant is serving himself today or is he serving the American public. Bulletin. I have to call the New York Law Journal at the time that Mark D. Fox may be reappointed as a magistrate judge. And I have to protest that, and I have to ask you to protest it. And I have to ask all of my other associates to protest it. He is a disaster. He should not be on the bench. And we have to save America from crooked lawyers and from corrupt judges. We have to do it. Also, Azraq is up for an appointment. She's a magistrate in the Eastern District. And so we have to oppose that, you and I and our associates. We're just about finished with the bulletins. We are now going to tell you some jokes. And just let me tell you quickly that on my appeal of the Texaco derivative action, Bryant said that the derivative action should be settled. It should not be settled. It should be brought before a jury and brought before you and let you decide. We have too many judges deciding in favor of judges and in favor of their lawyer friends. We have too much of that. So the U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York, White Plains, told me that my notice of appeal of the Bryant order approving the Texaco derivative action settlement had been sent to the U.S. Court of Appeals on May 5th. And I believed them. Yesterday I found out that it hadn't been sent at all. I no longer will believe the White Plains United States District Court. I just no longer will believe it. When they tell me something, I can't believe it. The notice of appeal was being held up mistakenly to go with the file. Well, that's ridiculous. It doesn't have to be. The file doesn't have to be sent from the district court to the Court of Appeals until the Court of Appeals issues a scheduling order, which comes at least 2 or 3 months after the notice of appeal. So we've got dumb clerks, and we've got clerks that you can't believe. And the file is up in Bryant's office, waiting to make a decision on. But this is not this decision. The decision that I appealed, his approving the settlement order, he's making a decision, Bryant, now. Well, he's not really there. He's not even in the district. He's out loafing again. But the decision that next to be made is whether Burchad, a lawyer, is going to get $1 million for doing nothing. For bringing a derivative action that had no conclusion, that had no discovery, that the record is sealed on partly. They did nothing, and they want $1 million. Are you a betting person? Bryant will give it to him. Murdler, they asked for $1.4 million, and Murdler says no, $1 million. Okay, jokes. Mrs. Morgan asked the 5th grader, if you take 51% from 100%, what do you have? And Bobby, who was the son of a business tycoon, had control of the company. That's a Cablevision joke. The Dolans have lost control of the company, really. They only have 30% now. That crook, John C. Malone, and Hindery have 23%. So, now, do you know, folks, what an efficiency expert is? An efficiency expert is somebody who tells you how to run your business but isn't smart enough to start one of his own. And John said, my son is a born judge. He's only 2 years old and he already takes 2.5 hours for lunch. And Paul says, we always try to cut corners around this office. He said, a lot of offices have a computer, an Apple computer. Ours is a lemon. And now, without further ado, let us continue. The corrupt judge of the week this week is Charles L. Bryant. This is the paper that has gone to the United States Court of Appeals. Excuse me. All right, it has gone to the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. It went there yesterday. These are my reasons for asking for leave to appeal. A right as an American I was robbed of by Ralph K. Winter. But this particular group that I'm reading you, it's the same words, went to the United States District Court, District of Columbia, Glendora versus Charles L. Bryant, Robert M. Callaghy, and Thomas A. Tormey. And last week I got up to here when we ran out of time. The public spent $33 million building Bryant a new United States District Court, Southern District of New York, White Plains. We are on page 18. Courthouse. He moved from 101 East Post Road to 300 Quaropus, next door to the Westchester County Courthouse. I've heard of moving the court, but this was ridiculous. Broderick had died, Schwartzberg had died. A tremendous loss to the public is Schwartzberg, not Broderick. Gattell was banished to Connecticut. Meanwhile, Glendora, fighting for the nation's and the state's rights, absconded by corporate lawbreakers, crooked lawyers, and corrupt judges, became informa pauperis. I became a poor person. I spent all of my money, all that I had, fighting these people. Savings were gone. The court fights took all the time from business and career, church, so that no new money was coming in. And from marriage, income stopped, and so it is today, as Glendora's informa pauperis states to you. In good faith, Glendora petitioned her government for redress of wrong, as in good faith, the civics teacher in junior high school intoned and the pledge to the flag promise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, not the police state, with liberty and justice for all. Do you see it? No, you do not see it. All you see is egocentric judges bludgeoning America today, and crooked lawyers. She was appalled, Glendora was appalled at the barrister soul-selling and judicial corruption. Once into the fight, she and supporters could not turn their back on their dying, bleeding, weeping country. We had to see it through. The courts where the elite meet to cheat was reported on A Chat with Glendora. On 14 cable systems in Westchester, Long Island, Rockland, and Manhattan. Crooked lawyers and corrupt judges is one of the graphics. You've heard of white-collar crime. This is black robe crime. A lawyer is a liar for hire. Send in your nominee for corrupt judge of the week. Headline news, what the crooked lawyers and corrupt judges did this week. There are 100 Glendora TV slates graphics on her computer disk. Patriots versus sinners. Patriots versus traitors, saints versus sinners. We believe God is pretty well fed up with it too and calls us to expose the same. And that is why you are the most important people in the world. The courts belong to you, of the people, for the people, and by the people. You are the ones who will make a difference. Callaghan, like a fool, answered the wrong complaint, the 1993 December 6th complaint 2¼ years ago, and totally ignored the amended complaint filed February 1995. Bryant let him get by with this. Why? What's Bryant's job? Ask Bryant for a description of his job. Uphold the United States Constitution. The Amici did their work. Glendora kept watch vigilantly and some papers to the court, and sent papers to the court every week. Bryant and Glendora were on good terms. Bryant had a party for the state judges, Supreme Court, State of New York, County of Westchester, across the parking lot to show off his new courthouse that taxpayers spent $33 million to buy him. As Bryant disembarked from the plush talking elevators in the courthouse, he saw Glendora and Franklin and bowed to the floor with a very friendly hello. Then, as Glendora with Franklin was at the door 20 feet from Bryant, she had her right arm on one state judge's shoulder and her left arm on another. They were Cowie and West. Glendora said to these two judges, "I'm sorry I haven't been over to see you much in the past year." I hadn't brought any suits in the Supreme Court, County of Westchester, State of New York. They were all federal suits. So I said, "I'm sorry I haven't been over to see you much in the last year." And West said, "Well, you moved up. You don't have time for us anymore." And they asked to hear today's joke, and I told them today's joke was a little girl said to her mother, "Is it true, Mummy, that we come from dust and return to dust?" And Mummy said, "Certainly." And the little girl says, "I just looked under the sofa and somebody's coming or going." Well, both judges laughed heartily as many times in the old days, and Glendora looked up, and here was Bryant looking intently straight at her, 20 feet away. Then he went back as host to greet his guests at the door, more state judges. On July 19, 1998, Glendora won all the way. Bryant ruled Cablevision did violate Title 47 U.S. Code 531E, folks. We'll just call it 531E, okay? What it means is that no cable operator shall exercise editorial control over public access. Public access is a forum. A traditional forum now, because it's been around for 23 years, and a designated forum by the Cable Act of 1984 by the United States Congress. It is a public forum. You don't go to people in the park and say, "You can't talk like that." This is America. This is First Amendment. That Glendora did have a private right of action, meaning I didn't have to go through the FCC and I didn't have to go through the Cable Commission, which doesn't exist anymore. That there would be a trial and damages. These are the things that Bryant granted me. I won everything. And it was up to the jury how much to give me in damages. Park Avenue, Callagy, lost again. Callagy, Satterley, Stevens, Burke and Burke, 230 Park Avenue, New York, New York, a liar for hire. Bryant was gone all of August 1995, as I suspect he is this month, 1998. Glendora withdrew an appeal from the United States Court of Appeals because, as she told him in September, she did not want to lose his jurisdiction. Other United States district judges don't do that. They keep the case going in the United States District Court while the appeal is in the United States Court of Appeals. But Bryant is well known to get rid of a case any way he can. Even though Bryant kept up a cascade of insults about Glendora being pro se, he and she were on good terms, October, November, December 1995, and January and February 1996. He ordered her to be put on the trial calendar on March the 4th, 1996. Bryant is a known pro se hater. He wants everything under the control of lawyers so he can control the lawyers. You can't control a pro se, you see. A pro se has not sold her soul. But Glendora's amici curiae, acting pro bono, gradually pulled out because they had to make a living. This was Robert Perry, who was a professor of law at New York University, and Brian D. Grafman, who is a practicing lawyer. Professor Perry had to put more time into his New York University law teaching. Brian Grafman and his wife had 3 babies born to them in 2 years. The last 2 were twins. And income became more important than pro bono. Bryant became more abusive about Glendora's being pro se. The cable company in his hometown of Ossining, that's where Sing Sing is, took Glendora's TV program off of TV every other Saturday. Glendora sued them, and Bryant, a former town supervisor, had close ties as franchisors to the franchisees. Now what is this? Judicial clerkships. Okay. This is interesting for you to read, folks. It's on LexisNexis. And you go there and it tells you the name of the judge and his education and his background right there, you see. And I'll read that to you. And it tells you what the clerkships are, law clerks. They only last for a year. It tells you how much money they pay. It tells you the education of the law clerks. It tells you when the United States District Judge was appointed. And other sundry information. Biographies of the judges and staff. Bryant, Charles L. Judge, United States District Court for the Southern District of New York, 101 East Post Road, White Plains, New York, 10601. Nominated for appointment in 1971 by President Nixon. Does that tell you something? Born on March the 12th, 1923, so he is 75 years old. In Ossining, New York. His father was an MD. Married in 1948 to Virginia Elizabeth. Children: Cynthia B. Hendricks, Charles L. III, Victoria E. Misaraka, and Julia W. Clevet. Education: Columbia University, 1947 BA, Columbia Law School, 1949 LLB. Admitted to New York Bar, 1949. Military service, entered in active duty, 1943, U.S. Army Air Corps, released in 1946. Well, good. Thanks. After World War II service. Career record: 1948 to 51, Water Commissioner of Ossining. 1952 to 58, Town Justice of Ossining. 1958-59, Village Attorney, Briarcliff Manor, New York. 1958 to 59, a Special Assistant to District Attorney, Westchester County, New York. Boo. 1960 to 1963, Town Supervisor of Ossining. 1968, Assistant Counsel, Commission or Committee on Fire Insurance, New York State Legislature. 1970 to 1971, County Legislator. Member of the Judicial Conference of the United States, District Judge, Representative. 1989 to present. I don't think he is because his name's not listed there, and I just got the list from Shapiro, Mark Shapiro, down in D.C. Chief Judge from 1986 to 1993, 6 years, New York State Bar Association, Westchester County Bar Association, and Ossining Bar Association. A political creature, as you can see. And Merrill Folsom, who has the same last name as my name, Folsom, Glendora Folsom, was a reporter for the New York Times and head of the Bureau for White Plains of the New York Times, and he reports that Charles Bryant never could get his committee together. So much for LexisNexis. Callaghan lied and covered up on discovery. Glendora was appalled at the abuse of discovery protectors given her Rules 24 to 37 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. She asked for sanctions, and Bryant colluded with Callaghan in defying the rights that Glendora had. The United States Magistrate Judge Mark D. Fox, he's a villain, a vicious, vituperative, venal villain, was vindictive, vitriolic, and vituperative, and declared discovery over just on dictum. Hi, honey. Come on up and see the folks. Yeah, you're such a pretty baby. Yeah, you just made for TV. You black and white. Penny cat. So we were on Fox and declared discovery over on dictum when it wasn't. Fox robbed Glendora of the proof she could have had to ascertain that. Cablevision and Picken and Galata acted under color of state to get Glendora's reports, exposures about them, off of TV. Callaghan ordered an audio tape Glendora had made of Cablevision stating they took her program off because of content, and that again is against 531E, you remember? No cable operator can exercise editorial control over public access. These are Penny's little furs. Glendora produced it. The cost of the tape was $120. Callaghan would not pay it. That's how cheap Callaghan is, and how cheap Sally Stevens, Burke, and Burke is. Bryant and Fox ordered him to pay it 5 times. He was in contempt, and Bryant let him get away with it. Bryant became more and more a bully, pushing Glendora around. She knew she had her rights and would not take it. Bryant the tyrant became increasingly abusive. Franklin was Glendora's witness to all of this. He went to every conference. The minutes recorded it. Callaghan was so cheap, he wouldn't buy the minutes. Glendora did, and she became penniless. That's another crime in the courts. This ripoff, this industry of court stenographers' minutes. It has to stop. And I have before the Judicial Council of the United States my proposal to get rid of the restriction on tape recorders in the court. You're allowed to have your own tape recorder. You should be. And you're not, because crooked judges don't want you, the public, to know how bad they are. They don't want a record of it. Glendora was getting the shaft from the egomaniac exhibitionist Charles L. Bryant. She knew it, but she continued her preparation for trial. Franklin paid for the subpoenas, Rule 45, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, $70 per Dolan, Charles Dolan, James Dolan, and times 5, there were 4 of them, which means $350. The billionaires realized that Glendora had them and bought their way out of their duty to sit at the witness stand and be questioned. Just the way President Clinton had to be yesterday. But Bryant let the Dolans out of it. The Cablevision Political Action Committee money began to churn, the telephones rang, the wheels and the deals turned, and all Bryant had to do was trump up an excuse to get rid of Glendora's trial and her damages that he had promised her. And he did that badly too. The appellate division, upsetting Silverman's order, put Glendora back on TV. Glendora should not have appealed Silverman July the 29th, 1994, but she had a right to expect the appellate division to be honest and honorable. How could she know they are the Nassau County Mafia Court? It was wrong not to award Glendora compensatory and punitive damages for what the crooks Cablevision did to her rights. And I've got to make a note of that. I sincerely believe that somehow or other the Appellate Division of the Supreme Court of the State of New York, Second Department in Brooklyn, 45 Monroe Place, has some kind of a mafia connection with the Republican Party of Nassau County, which has been in for 100 years. And I ought to look into that, and I ought to bring a civil RICO case against them. You know what RICO is? Racketeering, influence, organized crime. At first, it meant only for criminals, but over the years, it has taken on a civil meaning, and it means that even a court can become an enterprise. A court can collude and have this, this, and this, and this enough to make it a ring, a racket. And that's civil RICO. And that thought just went through my mind now, that I should bring a civil RICO against the Appellate Division, Second Department. I'm certainly going to bring one against the Eastern District of New York. The February 28, 1996 nadir of judicial crookedness is in the minutes, along with Glendora's tape annotation of the same. Glendora appealed Bryant, robbing her of her trial and her damages. And here it is, folks, Rule 38, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. Listen to this, that right preserved, the right of trial by jury as declared by the 7th Amendment to the Constitution or as given by a statute of the United States shall be preserved to the parties inviolate. Do you know that these crooked judges can take away all of your civil rights and then claim immunity? That's how crooked they are. You have judges ruling on judges' immunity. What do you think the result is going to be? We are on page 27, folks, and that's probably it for this week. And next week we will continue it up to page 48. This is a chat with Glendora, Crooked Judge of the Week, and for a whole month and maybe a quarter is Charles L. Bryant. To the United States by several crooks who call themselves employees of the United States government when they are not, when they are acting as anti-government. And first of all, here are your jokes. This year, the chairman of Cablevision wrote the annual report in terms that are easy for any shareholder to understand. It says, "Look, Bob, look, see the earnings. The earnings are tiny. See the expenses. The expenses are huge. Run, Bob, run." And fresh out of college, Jim has exactly what it takes to become a great business success. Rich parents, And Mary is very proud of the way her son became general manager of the cable company. He started out as president. And we have to make room for Dolans, you see. That's what that's all about. Now, this is volume 32 of Bruiser Ken. And under 3, so much has happened it can't possibly be covered even in a telethon, let alone a half hour. But on the case Glendora Plaintiff versus the Pinkerton Security and Detective Services, James P. McCloskey, the CEO, and Dennis R. Brown, the president of Pinkerton, and the Pinkerton John at 3:19 p.m. March the 31st, 1998. He's the one who tossed the recorder into the air when I said, "Put it down, please. I don't want another Bruiser Ken saying, 'She reached up and touched me,'" which never happened. And on that basis, we were fined $4,000, another $50, and 2 years probation.
She reached up and touched my arm.
Larry Nevins, who is a deputy United States Marshal at White Plains, where they don't know enough, they're too stupid to give people receipts for taking their property, and Frank Weber and Frank Esposito. That case was brought in the Supreme Court, the state of New York, the county of Westchester. And being the fact that we have a police state, you know, you pledge allegiance to the flag, to the republic for which it stands. It's no more republic. It's a police state. That case was brought in Westchester County Supreme Court, and it was removed by the autocratic U.S. Attorney. Just like that, they don't even have to make a motion. It doesn't have to be decided on. It's a notice of removal. And it was removed to the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, where Nevins knows everybody. What chance do we have? Now just tell me, what chance do we have in this police state? This is a memorandum by Glendora that Godsell was wrong to invoke the Federal Tort Claims Act, that this is a civil rights case, and Title 42 U.S. Code, Section 1983, which is no person who works for the government can take away your civil rights. If he does, that person's liable to you. And Section 1985, conspiracy among these government traitors. The important thing here is that the law says Paragraph 1 does not extend or apply to a civil action of the government which is brought for a violation of the Constitution of the United States. Now they're trying to lie about that. I've got to call the clerk and say, "The clerk, you have misentered this on the docket. This is not a federal tort claim. This is a violation of civil rights." That idiot, Pinkerton John, when I asked for my recorder to be given back to me, I didn't want him to touch it. And anyway, I said, "Put it on the desk, please." "What? Is there some kind of a rule or something?" He tosses it into the air. The recorder goes into the air, lands on the desk, and then falls another 4 inches off of the top of the pile. Police brutality that you have in the courts today. This you and I have to get rid of. So, already they're lying. This is not a Federal Tort Claims Act. And the Federal Tort Claims Act is very interesting. It comes from Great Britain, that the king cannot be sued. Sovereign immunity. You cannot sue the king unless the king gives you permission to sue him. That's just what we've got today with the United States District Judges. You can't sue the United States unless they give you permission to sue them. So the Federal Tort Claims Act finally, people realized that America had to be America, and around the 1930s or so, the Federal Tort Claims Act came into being. Yes, you can sue the United States government. the United States government isn't a king and the United States government isn't sovereign, you can sue the United States government for damages against yourself. So this is how this evolved. Because Nevins is a United States employee, a bad one at that, then the case was removed from the state Supreme Court, where it would have had some chance of neutral and fair adjudication. That's not what they wanted. To the United States District Court, the Southern District of New York, in the hands of a ferocious, incompetent, and traitorous judge named Robert W. Sweet. Also, in addition to telling them that it was stupid to try to bring the removal under the Federal Tort Claims Act instead of under Title 28, Section 14, 41 to 71, which is removal. Instead of doing that, they brought it under the Federal Tort Claims Act. Now, I added to this civil rights for women. Pursuant to the affirmative power of Congress to enact this subtitle under Section 5 of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, as well as under Section 8 of Article 1 of the Constitution, it is the purpose of this subtitle to protect the civil rights of victims of gender-motivated violence and to promote public safety, health, and activities affecting interstate commerce by establishing a federal civil rights cause of action for victims of crimes of violence motivated by gender. So we're going to add that to you, Bruiser Ken. You beat up a woman. And we're going to add that to you, Pinkerton John. You damaged the property of a woman, or at least you abused the property of a woman. Well, those are new facts. I think they're... I want to tell you the section, though, in case you want to look it up for yourself. It's Public Law, Section 40301. If you're videotaping this, 40301. And I think it was as recent as 1990, 91 or 2 in there. So that is to protect women. Now, moving on here, the order that Joe Nasrak wrote to Matsumoto. You remember good old Matsumoto, the assistant U.S. attorney, who issued a restraining order on Franklin after he'd paid his $2,000 fine, and after he'd paid his $50 fine, he'd paid it, and this dumb assistant U.S. attorney issued a restraining notice on him to stop all payment from his bank account. Fortunately, he never went to the bank. And issued one against me. Well, finally Matsumoto woke up and sent Franklin an embossed satisfaction. Meanwhile, I called, so that is over. Meanwhile, I called Azraq and I said that I did not have a satisfaction judgment and that I had been, it was her order that I should be making time payments and that the first time payment should be made on, what's it, this is July? No, this is August. First one was made on July 24th, rip-off day we call it, $167, and the next one will be August 24th, which is Monday. And so I complained to Azraq that I had complied with her order and did everything she told me to do, even though it's entirely wrong. I'm not going to break the law, even though the people who administer it are crooks. That I'd done everything that she told me to do. And Azraq wrote a sizzling letter to the assistant U.S. attorney in Brooklyn, saying, quo warranto, in fact, you give reason why you restraining order against Glendora, when Glendora is under my orders for time payments to end in July of 1999, and Glendora has made the first payment. You just tell me why you defied my order. We actually have a United States magistrate judge who was an assistant U.S. Attorney herself, bawling these out. And by crooks, I mean assistant U.S. attorneys. I know of no more crooked people in the United States today that I have met in my lifetime, more crooked than U.S. attorneys. So that was interesting. Now, last week I left off reading you that Ross made 7 orders. I covered with you. These orders are all not for publication. That's not right. You know, here we are, free and open society. We know we're not exactly Gestapo, are we? We're not exactly KBG. We're the United States of America. These orders should be for publication. It doesn't matter. I publish them anyhow. Okay, on the first order, Ross refused to dismiss my case against Bruiser Ken, Glendora versus Bruiser Ken, a civil case, on the grounds that McCloskey and Brown claimed that they had not been served personally. They got a green card. Well, that's stupid. You know they're wrong when they start contesting the service and trying to get out of it. So she ordered the marshals to serve McCloskey and Brown personally, which will be about $70 a head, and it is to be paid by the poor United States government. So that was the first order, and that Todd Manister fell flat on his face on that excuse, as he should on all of the other excuses. Fugitivisms. Now the second order, I didn't like that either. No, I liked the first one, so I thank Ross for that. The second order was very bad. It consolidated Franklin's case, Buell versus Mildworth, and Glendora's case, Glendora versus Bruiser Ken. It's really funny to see the into the courthouse and call the calendar and say Glendora versus Bruiser Ken. That was bad to consolidate the cases. It wasted all of Franklin's money, and I wrote a long that. But worst of all, she let Kwiatkowski and Ramos go. Here they had broken the law, clearly had broken United States law, clearly had violated rights, and she let them go out of Franklin's case. She dismissed Kwiatkowski and Ramos out of Franklin's case. Kwiatkowski and Ramos were not in my case. So that was wrong. A frivolous criminal, quote, this is quote criminal, unquote, case brought, entirely a frame-up, entirely 2,250 lies, is that what it is? And entirely trumped up. False arrest, malicious prosecution, selective prosecution. An abuse of authority, police brutality, no probable cause, no reasonable basis, taxpayer waste, embarrassment to America, cover-up, pumped up, trivial, Pluto, bullyism. You know Popeye, Pluto? This is Pluto bullyism. Popeye never should have been arrested. Failure to prosecute by the U.S. Attorney, Glendora and Franklin's criminal complaint for arrest of Kenneth H. Mildworm. He is the criminal, and they let him go. They didn't arrest him. They requested it 21 times. This is how crooked the U.S. Attorney's office is. Pension abuse by Mildworm, false arrest, malicious prosecution, adulterating civil coercion, blundering, conspiracy, violation of free speech and press, failure to deal with real crime, a Brogdonian dementia over a Lilliputian incident, brutal arrest instead of a summons. Anybody is entitled to a receipt for personal property taken, stupidity, extortion, incompetent administration. L. Ralph Meacham, please notice, he's the head of the United States courts, the administrator of the United States courts in D.C. Usurpation of the United States of as criminal resources for personal self-interest. Instead of going out and using the money to protect you from crime, protect you from criminals, they're using the money for us. First Amendment retaliation, because we told them they were wrong. Franklin's 78-year-old declining health, a bad record, a blot on the escutcheon, at a time when the public's respect for the fraudulent Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Injustice is at its nadir. Waco, Ruby Ridge, Crime Lab, Orrin Hatch, at the throat of Janet Reno, inter alia. Failure of Mr. Ramos to respond to discovery. At this point, the best solution is to dismiss this phony action instantly. I have to talk to you a little bit about the civil RICO. Civil RICO's racketeering influence organized crime is what RICO stands for. And it was a law that came out of Robert Kennedy when he was head of the, when he was the Attorney General of the United States. And it was to go after the mafia. And they were doing all kinds of things. They got a lot of money from gambling, and then they would take this money from gambling and they would invest it in another business, somebody else's business. They would gradually gain control of that business and start running it. 3 was something else. 4 was extortion. And so that's what criminal RICO was, the original RICO. But over the years it took on a different meaning. Found out that courts were acting as an enterprise. That's an essential element of it. They have to act as an enterprise. In here, go here, go here, go here, go there, and go into somebody's pocket. So that even states, government, like the state of New York, could be an enterprise engaged in civil RICO. That police departments could be the same. Municipalities could be doing the same. And so they were gone after, and they were prosecuted. Well, this is what we have here. We have an enterprise. You have the Pinkertons, you have the United States Marshal Disservice, Department of Injustice, you have the Fraudulent Bureau of Investigation. You only have to have 3, I think. I've got 5. And you have the judges, the magistrates, and the United States District Judges. We have an enterprise on here. Did you see how they brought about this and took $4,050 from us? It's an enterprise. It's a mafia. It's a racketeering, influenced organized crime going on here in the Eastern District. So since Ross consolidated Franco's with my Bruiser Ken action, I have to bring my own RICO action, and boy, it's going to be a big one. And I will be suing all of those people as RICO. Okay, we're going through in Bruiser Ken, and this is going to go on for weeks. This is the docket of this case in which there has been no justice. This is a reminder that the courts, did you hear what Timothy said? The first letter of Paul to Timothy. Excuse me, what Paul said. He says, the aim and object of this command is the love which springs from a clean heart, from a good conscience, and from faith that is genuine. Isn't that nice? Through falling short of these, some people have gone astray into a wilderness of words. They set out to be teachers of the moral law without understanding either the words they use or the subjects about which they are dogmatic. We all know that the law, now here we come, all you 50 conspirators, here we come. I read this in the Go court, and Go did not like it. She's a magistrate. We all know that the law is an excellent thing, provided we treat it as law. Recognizing that it is not aimed at good citizens, like Franklin and Glendora. At the lawless and unruly, the impious and sinful, the irreligious and worldly, at patriarchs, patricides, and matricides, murder of father and mother, murderers and fornicators, perverts, kidnappers, liars, perjurers. See what has happened to your law? See what happened to your country, to your United States of America? All of the money in the agencies has got into their hands. Do you see why it's recall? Do you see why it's racketeering? In fact, all whose behavior flouts the wholesome teaching which conforms with the gospel entrusted to me, Paul, the gospel which tells of the glory of God in his eternal felicity. Now, also applying to these crooks, these 50 conspirators that I've been talking to you about a half an hour a week now for, what, over a year, right? Is this, Dear Lord, this is written, of course, by the very famous John Greenleaf Whittier. Dear Lord and Father of mankind, forgive us our foolish ways. Reclothe us in our rightful mind, in purer lives thy service find, in deeper reverence praise. Listen, Eastern District of New York. Now where are we? Glendora thanks United States District Judge Ross for not dismissing her case. Glendora thanks you the fourth time for her informa pauperis. You got to give her credit for that. She does not thank the lawbreakers, crooked lawyers, and corrupt judges for making her IFP, fighting their traitorship to the USA. You know the IFP stands for informa pauperis, poor person. I've spent all of my money fighting these crooked lawyers and corrupt judges and crooked corporations like Cablevision. I've spent all of my money fighting them, trying to bring them to law and justice, and now I am a poor person. No, and not only did I spend the money, folks, but I spent all the time. I didn't have time to develop business. That's Glendora TV ads, and I didn't have time to develop Glendora Cheerful Look at Life, which is jokes told on the NBC television network and the CBS television network. I didn't have time to do those things, so therefore the income stopped. Thank you, Glendora, for asking the marshal to serve Brown and McCloskey in California. It will be about $80 per head. The Pinkertons must pay this $160 duty. That's Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 4, Section D. Duty to accept service by certified, and they should pay for that too. Brown and McCloskey are not good Americans, and they hire bad people like Bruiser Ken and Pinkerton John. The United States Marshal Service, Southern District of New York, served many defendants for Glendora in Denver on Malone, Magnus, TCI, also 4D traitors to the America. But the second and third lawsuits, they got smart, and they didn't try to escape by whining service. So you see, Manister is a beginner. He thinks he can get away with it, and he's so desperate. And McCloskey and Brown by Manister, he really doesn't know what he's doing, and he's a puppet of the United States Attorney, Assistant United States Attorney. But the main point of this letter is to thank Judge Ross for not dismissing bruises and knocked sweet husband in the jaw, Franklin, both of us ending up on the floor. And then, to cover up, this is Bruiser King, lying that we assaulted him and we never touched him. Can you imagine a man ruining his life that way? First by this awful assault, and then lying and covering up about it. A coward. And this is a former New York City policeman. This is why I do not believe policemen. This is why I have no trust for them, and I have no respect for them. I like the way Glendora says to Judge Ross, you treated each case individually and in separate envelopes, all 7 of them. It was very organized, and it stopped the confusion. Who was the last man to box Joe Louis? The Undertaker. Why is this paper not for publication? Yours in truth, Glendora. on, see if we can find another answer by Glendora. These were all written, 2 or 3 of them were written on Saturday the 8th, written on Sunday the 9th. Some of it was written in church, some of it was written walking down the sidewalk going to church. If the defendants did not want to be inconvenienced by going to the Western District of New York, then they should have thought of this before they inflicted 6 bruises on a 68-year-old female, a 145-pound, 78-year-old male in the jaw, ending both up on the floor and covering it up with 2,000. Glendora and Franklin are entitled to a neutral forum. In the United States, it is in the interest for the plaintiff. That comes first, before convenience for the lawbreakers. Think of that. In the interest of justice, the plaintiff comes first, before convenience for these lawbreakers. These brute and his accomplices who didn't prevent him from doing it. Heavens no, they tried. They tried. They restrained him, and then they restrained him afterwards. But they weren't watching, and he got away from them, and inflicted the 6 bruises. And then when Franklin extended his arms to take Mildworm's blows, his arms to protect his wife, Mildworm in his insanity dropped Glendora on the floor and turned around and socked Franklin in the jaw. And stunned. Denial of transfer to the Western District of New York is unjust, collusive, and un-American, says Glendora to Ross. Glendora's motion for transfer is zapped, while lawbreakers whine for transfer from the Southern District to New York to the Eastern District, New York, is granted. It is obvious what is going on. Nobody is fooled, but judges make fools of themselves. Denying Glendora's motion for a summary judgment is error and abuse of discretion, and it has been appealed. Defendants have no meritorious defense at all. In 1.5 years, defendants have not offered any meritorious defense. They hang in this action by the tenuous thread of, quote, judicial family, unquote, protection. That and only that. Denial is available. Mandamus and writ are the alternatives, and Glendora. Every piece of equipment in our office is covered by insurance, except the clock. The employees keep watch on that. These are the audio tapes, evidence against John Porzio. This is the audio tape evidence that Joanne Freya and Rosanna Washington robbed us of presenting at trial, along with all of our other evidence. We have had 2.5 hours of this, and there's quite a few of these tapes. Here's 4 of them, 2 sides, and here's 3 more. Unfortunately, the good copy went to the crooked court, which made us pay. When you ask for discovery in court, Rosanna Washington and Joanne Freer don't know enough that the defendants who ask for the discovery and ask for the tapes have to pay for them. They don't know that. They're too dumb to know that. And so they made us do this at our own expense. And we're the poor people, and they're the rich people. So they're Robin Hoods upside down. They're Robin Hoods upside down, robbing the poor and paying the rich. Okay, it is not a good transmission, so I will have to interpret it for you. First of all, I have to get it to work. This is John Porzio talking to Glendora. We were friendly. We were on good terms. I respected him. Cellar windows are open all the time. Anyway, the point of all this is to show you that we were on good terms, and it looked like we had a good friendship. But John Porzio turned out to be a sleaze. He lied under oath. He broke the law. Glendora told Porzio a joke, as she always did. When were these conversations? They were in 1993. It's too bad that the court ran away with a good copy of this, which they never let us use. It's too bad the court did everything that they did, and I'm talking about Joanne Freer and Rosanna Washington. And told him another joke, I guess, and he left.
What's the news with you?
What's the news with you?